Dragon Ball has one of the most underappreciated power systems, and I honestly don't blame anyone for this because most fights in the series are reduced to punches, kicks and energy blasts, to the point that we rarely ever get to witness unique abilities deciding the winner of a battle. So today I've taken some time to analyze and figure out how ki manipulation, magic, unique abilities and transformations, which are the four main categories of Dragon Ball's power system, each work in the Dragon Ball universe, and how each of them balances and interacts with the rest. Starting off with the category that is the most important category in the entire series, we have ki manipulation, and the basics go like this. Ki is the energy within every living being, which when pulled out can be used to perform many abilities such as the iconic Kamehameha or even the final flash. But for newbies looking to learn more about ki, those abilities are still a bit more complex. Therefore, we have to take a few steps back and look at the basics of ki. This is the part where ki control comes into play. Now, in order to tap into the ki you have inside of you, you need to be trained by a master or someone who knows how ki works. This will perfectly lay the foundation for your growth, allowing you to learn abilities that are the basics of ki manipulation. Ki manipulation itself branches into two main categories, which are the basic tier and the advanced tier. The basic tier of ki manipulation covers the abilities that everyone with decent understanding of ki should be able to use. These techniques include flight, ki sensing, ki attacks, as well as strengthening your body with ki itself to increase your attack potency, durability, speed, as well as other physical stats. As a result, having a higher level of ki means you'll also have a higher power level, which grants a significant boost to previously mentioned stats. But how do you even increase your ki in the first place? Well, there's only one safe and easily accessible method that anyone can use to increase the level of their ki reserves, and that is to put your body under immense physical strain through training. Training serves to elevate your ki reserves whilst simultaneously strengthening your body to withstand the energy growing inside of you. Other methods of increasing your ki include getting your potential unlocked by Elder Guru or Namek or Elder Kai, followed by transformations, which I just can't wait to talk about. Another way of increasing your ki is using underhanded methods like Granola and Gas, who wished upon a dragon for power, but at the cost of a huge chunk of their lifespans, or even Moro's energy shots that can make you stronger each time he blasts you with one. However, these methods are shortcuts and therefore damaging to the body. They are just not sustainable in the long run. However, training to gradually strengthen your body and increase your ki reserves naturally is the most sustainable way to gain and maintain your power. If you've reached this point and you still haven't given up about understanding ki, you'll find that the more you train, the slowly you begin to gain a better understanding of how ki works. Thus, the following step, which is to learn how to use energy attacks, should come naturally. Just to summarize, energy attacks are the physical manifestation of the ki in your body being used to create physical attacks that are far stronger than your own raw power. And although most energy attacks serve the basic purpose of exploding upon coming in contact with an enemy, they still come in different shapes and sizes, evidenced by the 5 different variations most commonly seen amongst the energy attacks. However, one quick thing to note is that these variations are flexible and one specific ki attack can fall under more than one category. Starting with the most common energy blast, we have the basic types. Basic type energy blasts involve a sphere of energy being formed, usually on the palm of one's hand, and later released to blast a targeted opponent or object. These ki attacks can range from a random nameless ki blast shot at an opponent to more advanced abilities such as the extremely condensed Big Bang attack or even Beerus' sphere of destruction. These attacks, depending on the user, can become so dense to the point that they can nuke entire planets. One great example of this is Frieza blowing up planet Vegeta in the Broly movie. But not every energy attack serves the purpose of nuking its targets, and this is where concentration type enter the conversation. So unlike most other variations of energy attacks, concentration types are not known for causing massive explosions upon impact. The users of these energy attacks focus on concentrating a large amount of ki into one point to pierce or cut opponents. Examples are the Makanko Sapo, which was first used all the way back in Dragon Ball Z to kill Raditz, followed by the Destructo Disc that can slice up opponents that are far stronger than the user. Attacks of this nature can be truly devastating because we've literally seen Piccolo's attack drill through a barrier made by the hands of an angel. But before we move on, the other example worth noting is Granola's sniping attacks. This is one of those attacks that overlap because they fall under the basic types and the concentration types. For this specific attack, Granola positions his hand in a gun-like shape and snipes the vital points of his target from a distance to knock you out. His sniping attacks do not necessarily cause collateral damage, but they are so dense, precise and focused that they they can cause serious damage. Although concentration types can be really powerful, they can be quite taxing on one's energy reserves. So how about we borrow other people's energy for attacks, and that is where the accumulation types come into play. Accumulation type key abilities are those that require you to gather energy from external sources to form an attack. The Spirit Bomb is one such ability and is notorious for taking forever to prepare. It gathers energy from anyone who willingly raises their hand and chooses to give a portion of their life energy. In fact, every single living organism, from plants, insects, and even non-human animals, can also contribute, as seen in Goku's Spirit Bomb against Frieza on Namek. Future Trunks has also done this with the Spirit Sword that he used to finish off few Zamasu. The last example is Moro, who is also one of the few other characters in the story that can gather ki from other beings for his own use. But unlike Goku's Spirit Bomb, Moro steals the energy of others for his own consumption. One fact worth mentioning is that most energy attacks look bland and boring. So when characters decide to spice things up, we get Alteration type. Alteration type attacks stand in direct contrast to other types of ki attacks. In this case, energy is manipulated to take different shapes and forms that are not just spheres. The best ability in this category is the Super Ghost Kamikaze attack, where miniature ghosts of the character are spat out of the mouth. These ghosts are sentient, having shown the ability to listen to strategies and execute on them. Other examples of alteration types are Goku Black's Keyblade, which have an obvious use of cutting and stabbing, the Destructo Disc, as well as the Galactic Donuts used to bind opponents. So basically, any ki attack that is not a basic spherical shape falls under ki alteration category. Next up, we've got projection type energy attacks, and they are amongst the most common in the entire series, with the iconic Kamehameha being one such attack. Techniques that require the charging up of energy only for it to be released as a beam of light headed straight for the opponents are projection types. My favorite attacks here in this category are the Final Flash, Kamehameha, Special Beam Cannon, and the Gallic Gun. So as impressive and powerful as all of those ki attacks can be, having a higher level of mastery over ki allows you to become even more overpowered. This is where we get into the advanced tier of ki manipulation, and unfortunately not everyone can reach this level because it requires special training from the Yardredians as well as King Kai, who is literally in the afterlife. The Yardredians are a race of naturally weak aliens that reside in Universe 7. So to compensate for their lack of strength, they devote themselves to reaching greater mastery over ki. This resulted in the development of an advanced level of ki manipulation known as spirit control, which comes in with a whole host of abilities. The most common and easiest to learn of these abilities is instant transmission. We also learn in the Moro arc that the Yardredians are capable of cloning, gigantification, as well as healing others. The Elder Pribrara explains that these abilities are performed by shifting, splitting, and growing one's spirit. The training to master spirit control involves meditating on a pole for months on end in order to get your mind and body aligned and working together. But if you're a prodigy like Vegeta, you can cut the training time significantly. What Goku couldn't achieve in 150 days of training, Vegeta did it in like 60 days, learning the highest level of ability available on planet Yardred called Force Spirit Vision. This ability allows Vegeta to split energy that is gained from outside sources such as Moro's magic, as well as splitting fusions apart. But most things you learn from Yardred don't compare to what King Kai has to offer. King Kai is well known for teaching Goku two very powerful abilities responsible for saving the Earth once as well as the entire universe against Majin Buu. Those are the Spirit Bomb and the Kaioken technique respectively. Kaioken literally being an ability that allows one to double the level of the ki in their body, resulting in an increase to all stats in a fight. And although the 2x amp that the Kaioken grants can sound minuscule, that small difference can go a long way in a Dragon Ball fight, as it could mean the difference between dominating your opponent or getting completely washed by them. Going beyond the 2x amp of the Kaioken has been shown to be quite dangerous to the body, but depending on how much you train to strengthen the body itself, this can be pushed further. We do of course see this later on, with Goku lessening this effect through strengthening his body. Thus, he was able to push the power of Kaioken up to 20 times in his fight against Frieza, as well as later in his fight against Hit, combining the Kaioken technique with his Super Saiyan Blue transformation. The Spirit Bomb, on the other hand, is an OP ki blast Goku learned from King Kai. Although the specific training to attain this power was off-screen, I bet this ability also does require a lot of ki control. Now moving on to magic, we find ourselves in quite the predicament here because Dragon Ball has not done a very good job in defining what magic is and differentiating it from other key abilities. So to make things easier for you and myself, if an ability is not stated to be magic, we will not speculate about it. However, before we dive into the specifics, it is super important that we define what makes magic so different compared to key manipulation in the first place. And the main difference is that, unlike key manipulation, which mainly focuses on increasing your power level for harder punches and more raw destructive abilities, magic mainly consists of supportive abilities. But similar to key manipulation, magic itself has categories for its different variations, and those categories are hex magic, supportive magic, as well as magical items. Now, essentially, hex magic is the type that gives the user an unfair advantage over masters of key manipulation because it can bypass the durability of meatheads who think power is everything. This can be seen, for example, when Dabra spits on his opponents to immediately turn them into stone, or even Majin Buu, who can turn his opponents into chocolate or candy and consume them after that. The thing that makes these abilities truly deadly is that even if you're slightly stronger than your opponent, once they use them on you, they immediately gain an upper hand that they wouldn't have otherwise. But what's even more shocking is that these two powers are just scratching the tip of the iceberg, because the manga only villain Moro has very deadly hex that completely breaks power scaling. You see, Moro has a super deadly energy absorption magic that works to steal the ki from planets or living beings. This means that if you are stronger than Moro, the longer you fight him, the weaker you grow. A perfect example here is Vegeta, who was significantly stronger than Moro, but because he toyed around with him too much, he didn't realize his energy was slowly being sucked away passively. So by the time he wanted to take things seriously and kill the villain, it was already too late for him because he could no longer transform anymore. Moro had drained both him and Goku's power and proceeded to wreck them after that. But this absorption magic does not only allow Moro to steal magic for his self-nourishment, but it also allows him to use the magic from planets themselves and turn them into attacks. What makes this special ability super OP is that he can spam this move without depleting his own energy reserves. Truly scary stuff if you ask me. And to be honest, Moro's powers are a huge rabbit hole, so you can check out the full video I made for the full breakdown. However, one thing worth mentioning is that not all magic is hex. Sometimes it's more simple, and that's where the supportive type magic enters the conversation. This is the type of magic that is mostly light, and while it has applications in battle, it is not power that can often turn the tides of a battle in most situations like hex magic. Examples of supportive magic include Barba's ability to control people's minds, which we saw firsthand when Vegeta was turned into Majin Vegeta. Moro's telekinesis that he uses to drag objects and people towards him, followed by his magic that allows him to look into the memories of any being who stands before him, are examples of supportive magic. And this special ability of Moro in particular was put to use against the Grand Supreme Kai, who merged with Majin Buu, where Moro was able to look into his memories and he was able to see all of his God Ki was erased along with Kid Buu when Goku killed him with a spirit bomb in the Buu saga. Speaking of Grand Supreme Kai, he's the fat Kai that Buu absorbed millions of years ago and has now reawakened in Buu, and he had an ability called the Kai Kai Motaru. And I don't know if we can really consider this ability magic, but it works like anti-magic, whereby it is a spell that locks away a person's ability to use magic, and that is how Moro was captured 10 million years ago and put into the galactic prison. But there's one other Kai we also need to discuss, and that is Elder Kai. His ability to unlock the latent potential of any being is also magic, simply because he gained this power after fusing with the witch. So thus far we've been discussing magic abilities, but in reality magic is not only limited to just abilities. There are weapons and objects that are imbued with magic. Therefore, we find ourselves with some magical items that we really need to discuss. And the first one we get introduced to in the series is of course the Nyoibo. The Nyoibo is commonly known as the Power Pole, and it is a magical staff that was gifted to Goku by his grandfather Gohan, and it was Goku's greatest asset in battle back in OG Dragon Ball. The Power Pole was shown to be able to extend for 384,000 kilometers or 283,855 miles, as seen when Goku took this evil rabbit right here to the moon in a few seconds. You also have instances where Goku was blocking bullets and literally one-shotting fighter jets using the Power Pole. Then you also have the Kinta-Un, commonly known as a Flying Nimbus. Flying Nimbus is an extremely peaky magical cloud that only allows those with pure hearts to ride on it. and if you do manage to ride it, it is an extremely fast and useful mode of transportation. Because Goku as a kid could not fly, it made it easier for him to find the Dragon Balls. Its actual speed was never blatantly stated. However, while doing some research, I found that most people have deduced it to be Mach 5, which is 1.5 times the speed of sound, due to Goku comparing it to Arare's top speed in a crossover chapter with Dr. Slump characters in OG Dragon Ball. And Arale in the Dr. Slump manga was said to be Mach 1.5. But now that flight has become as common as walking in Dragon Ball, the Kinto-un unfortunately lost its relevance and only appears on special occasions here and there. But what is not common in Dragon Ball are witches, like Master Roshi's sister, Fortune Teller Baba, who carries this magic orb that can see events happening trillions of miles away if it is used by a skilled person. This was seen, of course, when Elder Kai used his so that Goku and Vegeta can be able to spectate the fight between Gotenks and Majin Buu all the way from the planet of the Kais, which is located outside of the mortal realm. While on the topic of the planet of the Kais, we were introduced to the Z sword there, which was a magical sword that was stuck in the mountain for many years. We later learned that it possessed the power to seal anyone who gets cut by it. But unfortunately, not just anyone could possess its tempting power, because it was so heavy that no one could extract it from the mountain it was embedded in for over 75 million years. Don't believe it? Well, it was Akira Toriyama himself who told us that Beerus used this very sword to seal away the Elder Kai 75 million years ago after he pissed him off. Luckily, we have Goku and Gohan who were able to free this pervy old Kai while messing around with the Z sword. Otherwise, we would have not learnt about the secrets of the earrings on the Kai's ears, known as the Potara. The Potara earrings are yet another magical item, but unlike the Z sword, which grants the ability to seal any being it cuts, what these special earrings do is merge any two beings who wear them on two opposite ears. Both wearers will get automatically pulled towards each other and form a new super powerful warrior like Vegito here, who far surpasses the power of the fused individual. This magic item is so ridiculously OP that Goku and Vegeta in their strongest forms could not even do anything to face Buhan. Yet a base Vegito was so powerful, he was able to make the pink Majin here eat dirt. While our friend Majin Buu is over here eating dirt, our favorite villain Perfect Cell was eating a senzu bean instead, which was a gift he got from Goku. Now the senzu beans themselves are beans with the magical property to not only heal all physical wounds instantly, but they also fulfill your need for food for 10 days straight. So where do these miraculous beans come from? Well, for that we have Master Korin, who grows them inside of his tower, and they grow at a pretty slow rate of about 1 bean in a couple of months. However, as miraculous as these beans may seem to be, their limitations started showing themselves when Goku had the heart virus. Therefore, it was revealed to us that the senzu beans cannot cure disease, but only heal physical damage. So I know at this point magic may seem complicated and deep, but it doesn't even come close to the many strange abilities we witness in the story of Dragon Ball, and that is where the power category of unique abilities fits into the picture. For many of these abilities in the Dragon Ball universe, they're not your average ki-based abilities and can oftentimes be more potent or useful than even magic itself. However, the sad reality about some unique abilities is that they are exclusive to specific alien races. So if you're not born into some super special alien race like the Saiyans or the Angels, well, too bad for you, because if you want to become an elite fighter, you'll have to grind like Jiren and Toppo, who have achieved their immense power despite them having no special powers that are unique to their alien race. However, not all hope is lost, because funny enough, we do of course see that there are other characters that have developed their own special abilities which give them a unique edge in battle. So if you haven't noticed the emerging pattern by now, let me point it out for you. There are two specific categories for unique abilities, and those are race-specific unique abilities, quite a mouthful I know, but please bear with me here, as well as miscellaneous unique abilities. Well, for starters, the first alien race we got introduced to is the Saiyan race through the arrival of Reddit, and this opened up the door that led us to learn about two specific powers that set Saiyans apart from other alien races. We first off have their ability to adapt and grow stronger during combat. The best example of this is in the Tournament of Power, where in just a span of 48 minutes, Goku, Vegeta and the Universe 6 Saiyans all shattered their limits multiple times, emerging leagues stronger than they were at the beginning of the tournament. We also have Bardock in a flashback from the Granola arc being outclassed by gas throughout their clash. That was until suddenly, mid-combat, his power level exploded, allowing him to finally take down the heater. Although this ability makes the Saiyans absolutely dangerous to fight against, it doesn't mean that they are invincible. In fact, we've literally seen them lose time and time again. However, there's a catch. You see, if you do manage to defeat a Saiyan, do make sure that you finish the job by killing them off, otherwise you're in for a nasty surprise. A surprise known as the Zenkai boost. This ability allows the Saiyan to come back stronger than ever before after surviving an ass beating that nearly brought them to death. A perfect example of this is Zarbon managing to absolutely humiliate the Saiyan Prince. However, by making the mistake of allowing him to live, Vegeta got healed and came back stronger than ever to kill off Frieza's henchmen for good. And we cannot talk about healing without mentioning the Namekians, who are a race that have evolved just for that. Now, there are those amongst these green aliens like Dende who are not suited for combat. However, the opposite is also true. There are also those like Piccolo who are born for war, and they have their own special ability, which we'll discuss in just a second. But back to Dende. Since he's not a combative Namekian, he has dedicated his life to honing his ability of healing, which allows him to simultaneously heal all wounds and restore a person's stamina. This makes him an extremely valuable asset in large-scale conflicts, such as the one on Namek during the final act of the saga, where essentially he was constantly healing and bringing everyone back into the fight. But that was until Frieza noticed and took him out. However, this is taken to the next level by the Namekian's insane ability to regenerate lost limbs like it's nothing. This power is extremely useful for Namekian warriors because we've seen this power save Piccolo's life on multiple occasions. And when you honestly think about it, it is the main reason why Cell was so overpowered in the first place. The only drawback or condition to this ability is that you can regenerate so long as your head doesn't get blown off, which is a pretty fair trade-off to be honest. But even that pales in comparison to the Namekians' ability to create the Dragon Balls. The ability to create Dragon Balls is what makes the Namekians a super special and unfortunately a targeted race as well. Many seek the power of these magical wish-granting orbs, and this can often lead to large-scale conflicts such as the one on Namek, where the struggle to obtain the Dragon Balls literally cost the Namekians their entire home planet. However, it is very rare that the planet does get attacked by tyrants like Frieza, because other than that, the Namekians are not total pushovers, and that is thanks to their ability that allows for the fusing of multiple powerful Namekian warriors to be possible, resulting in one extremely powerful Namekian warrior. The best example of this ability is displayed by Cyanel and Perina in the Tournament of Power. These two were the results of nearly the entire Universe 6 race of Namekians fusing, allowing them to be strong enough to fight on par with a Tournament of Power reawakened Gohan, the same Gohan capable of somewhat clashing with the Super Saiyan Blue Goku. There are many other alien races that have unique special abilities that are exclusive to them, such as the Cerealians with their sniping eye, or the Metal Man with their ability to produce lava from inside. But this is where I'll stop giving examples of race-specific unique abilities, because if I explained every single race with a unique power, this video would be too bloated than it needs to be. So I'll save the full breakdown of every single unique ability for a future video. But for now, let's take a look at miscellaneous abilities. To put this in simple terms, miscellaneous unique abilities is a dumping box for the many strange and often unexplained abilities that we encounter in the story. Such abilities are not specifically tied to the biology of a being like the Namekian's ability to regenerate, and some of them can even be taught to anyone who is willing to learn them. These powers range from the creepy body swap ability of Captain Ginyu to absolutely cool powers like Hit's time skip. And the first miscellaneous ability we got introduced to was back in OG Dragon Ball, when this rabbit that got sent to the moon by Goku controlled an entire village through the fear that upon touching anyone once, that immediately turned into a carrot, rendering them immobile and helpless. Which is surprisingly similar to General Blue's power that renders you immobile, not by turning you into a vegetable, but by him staring into your eyes. This Red Ribbon Army soldier was able to momentarily paralyze Goku, making it easier for him to defeat Goku. But if you really want to talk about an easy victory, you cannot forget about the Devil Might Beam, which is a literal one-shot move performed by the Devil Man. This power exploits the evil or impurity that everyone has in their heart to some extent, to expand the organ, causing it to explode. This of course results in the death of the target, and we've unfortunately never seen this ability actually work because it was only used on Goku, who literally has zero evil in his heart. And when we fast forward to the Namek saga, we meet Captain Ginyu the Body Thief, who can swap bodies with anyone almost instantly, a power that landed him straight into the body of a frog. And meanwhile, Ginyu was busy adjusting to his life as a frog. His subordinate Goldo had a broken ability that allowed him to instantly freeze time within a limited area by holding his breath. But not even he is a match for the time-skipping assassin from the 6th universe Hit, who is really proficient in time manipulation. He showcased his power by absolutely humiliating Vegeta in the Universe 6 vs 7 tournament, defeating him like a helpless child. However, it was not long until he met his match, a man who absolutely dominated his time powers with sheer speed, and that warrior is the Pride Trooper Dispo. Dispo is a warrior of the 11th universe, one capable of accelerating to speeds beyond light itself. This unique power of his allowed him to dominate Golden Frieza, and only really lost because Gohan had to do a self-sacrificial strategy with Frieza to eliminate him. All these abilities I just touched on should be enough to give you an idea of what I was trying to explain with miscellaneous powers, which means we can now move on to explain the most broken power category in the entire series, transformations. Now, the simple explanation of a transformation is that it's an ability that allows you to suddenly multiply the amount of ki you have in your body by a specific number. Take the first Super Saiyan transformation for example, that multiplies the base power by 50 times, which also means that your punches will become 50 times harder, will also move 50 times faster, as well as become 50 times more durable. Not all transformations multiply power to the same magnitude. You have some that only increase your power by a measly 1.4 times, like Zarbon's transformation, which took him from a power level of 23,000 to 33,000. But on the other hand, you get ridiculously broken forms like Super Saiyan God that granted Goku universe-busting power. That is an amp which can genuinely be calculated to absurd levels up there in the millions, which then shows you that the transformations alone can be pretty overpowered and surpass all beings who rely on key manipulation like Jiren, magic like Moro, as well as unique abilities like the Assassin Hit. But the most notable characteristic of a transformation is that it changes your body structure or hair color in the case of Saiyans. And this only happens because the body is trying to compensate for the sudden surge in power it is experiencing. That is why you even see an aura that leaks out ki for the Super Saiyan transformation. We all know that at the end of the day, in the Dragon Ball universe, power is everything. If you have an absurdly powerful base form, coupled with a ridiculously powerful transformation, your raw power will allow you to even be resistant to any hacks thrown in your direction. Like the time when Vegeta punched through Toppo's Hakai, an ability that is supposed to erase anything that it comes in contact with. So for most transformations in the series, that's it. They're just a multiplier of your base form. There's not much depth to them. Therefore, these are what I call normal transformations. Examples of these include all the Saiyan transformations going from the Uzaru all the way to Super Saiyan 3. You also have your Zarbon's form, Golden Frieza, Orange Piccolo, and basically every other character you see having a random form that gives them a power boost. However, following those are transformations I like to call mutations. So what exactly are these mutations? Mutations are transformations that deviate from the norm of what transformations behave like, whether it be within a specific race of aliens or just in general. One fascinating example of this is Frieza's first 3 forms. Frieza stated that those forms were created by him in order to suppress his power, and this is unlike any other transformations we've seen in the series. But since Saiyans have so many transformations at this point, it should not surprise you that they also have mutations. These mutations include Broly and Kale, whereby instead of having the standard Super Saiyan transformation like other Saiyans, they have their own exclusive forms that do not follow the rules. First off is Broly's Ikari form that granted him the ability to utilize the Uzaru's power while he maintains his standard body. These two freaks of nature also share the full power Super Saiyan, commonly known as the legendary Super Saiyan amongst fans. This form uses rage to exponentially increase the power of these users to the point that it can even exceed that of the Super Saiyan blue form. This was surprisingly retconned in the anime for Kale because she went from being unfazed by Super Saiyan Blue Kamehameha when she was raging in her form, but upon controlling the form, which is supposed to make it stronger, she lost to a Super Saiyan God Goku. But in the manga, Kale was demolishing everything and everyone in that state, from ragdolling Frieza to pushing back Super Saiyan Blue Goku and even one-shotting Annie Laza. Frieza even commented that this is a different breed of Super Saiyan unlike any other he's seen before. This is also true for Broly, as we see him requiring both Goku and Vegeta to fuse to even stand a chance. Another mutation came 2 arcs prior to Broly's appearance in the form of Super Saiyan Rage Trunks. Not much is known about this form, but it seems to be near the power of Super Saiyan Blue and only exclusive to Trunks. Meanwhile, on the topic of future Trunks, we cannot forget the man who terrorized his home planet, Goku Black the Menace. Goku Black also has his own variation of Super Saiyan known as Super Saiyan Rose. This variation of Super Saiyan was also not explained by the writers, but a likely explanation is that since Zamasu was a Kai in a Saiyan's body, he had access to God Ki, so he was able to tap into God Ki, therefore unlocking a pseudo-polluted version of Super Saiyan Blue. But that's enough about fake God forms for now. When you have several forms that are the real deal, we really need to discuss. God forms themselves are transformations that one can obtain after training to master God Ki under the mentorship of a god of destruction or an angel, which naturally results in two specific God forms available for anyone fortunate enough to train with the god. But before we get to them, we need to discuss the Saiyan God forms. So like I described in this video right here, which I highly recommend by the way, Saiyans are a special one-of-a-kind alien race to the point where under the right conditions, they have the privilege to ascend into divinity without any god training. A random Saiyan like Yamoshi can just find 5 righteous Saiyans who will then put their light into him, allowing him to ascend into the realm of the gods just like that. But as you know, Goku and Vegeta ain't random average Saiyans. They are known for shattering limits, which is exactly what they did in order to unlock Super Saiyan Blue. Super Saiyan Blue was originally called Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, describing the fact that this state is attained by a Super Saiyan God that has managed to go Super Saiyan on top of the Super Saiyan God transformation. The unfortunate part is Super Saiyan Blue has been in the mud so many times, it just never gets the job done. So they just had to replace it with a shinier and even more divine form known as Ultra Instinct. While Ultra Instinct is and was introduced to us as a technique, when Goku uses this angelic ability, his body does transform to compensate with the immense divine power flowing through it, which means it is both a technique and a transformation. And it also has a yin to its yang, known as Ultra Ego. Unlike Ultra Instinct that prioritizes defense through excessive dodging on instincts to completely avoid damage, Ultra Ego takes and harnesses set damage to allow the user to get stronger. The core of Vegeta's Ultra Ego transformation is not necessarily the ability to grow stronger upon taking damage, but it is the ability to utilize Hakai, the power that allows one to erase anything out of existence. While these two forms add a layer of special techniques into the mix, separating them from other transformations we've seen so far, absorption transformations take this to an extreme level. Absorption transformations occur when a being with the ability to absorb other beings does just that, resulting in a change for both their physical appearance as well as their power. The methods of absorption tend to differ depending on the person who does it. For instance, Cell absorbed the androids by sucking them into his body using his tail. Boo deattached a part of his flesh that suffocated his victims for a while, only for that piece of flesh to later return and reattach to him. We lastly have Moro, who just straight up swallowed an android whole. Unlike most transformations, with absorption, you gain all the abilities of the people you just absorbed. This is perfectly seen with both Boo and Moro. Boo absorbed Gohan, Piccolo and Gotenks, and in turn gained the ability to use the special beam cannon as well as the Super Ghost Kamikaze attacks, both moves that belong to his victims. In Moro's case, he gained OG-73's neck touch ability that allowed him to copy and store others' powers by touching them behind their necks. He demonstrated this by copying Vegeta and blasting him with a Big Bang attack. Moro also managed to touch Mirrors, a literal angel. That stunt he pulled gained him the ability to use Ultra Instinct, as well as tap into Mirrors' raw power to combat against Goku. That alone just shows how dangerous absorption is, because Boo could theoretically absorb as many strong people as possible to get ridiculously OP. And out of these 3 absorption methods I have described, Cell's absorption is the weakest by far, because he was designed to absorb 2 specific people to attain perfection, whereas Moro and Boo can theoretically do this as many times as they want. But a disadvantage I can point out with absorption is that coming across really strong people to absorb is hard enough on its own. So it is extremely situational, but it is deadly if implemented correctly, such as in Moro's case. And quite honestly, absorption is such a flexible power that I absolutely had to include it in my explanation of every single type of fusion in the series, which you can check out right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.